My girlfriend, Alice, 34, and I, 34 male, have been together for 7 months. Although we're not married, we live in my house. We were discussing marriage options, though. The issue is, as my parents are getting older and I had recently moved to the USA, I wanted them to remain together with me, and so did they. I offered to bring them here, and they were agreeable to the idea, but I didn't want to leave them alone or just get a house for them like that, so I asked them to live with me. When Alice heard about it, she was against the idea. She said that I couldn't just invite someone else to live with us, and I told her that it was not just someone else, and that we were talking about my parents. She said she didn't want that and asked me why I was doing it. I told her, well, they're my parents, and I want to look after them. I'm not asking you to do that either. She protested by saying that I valued my parents more than her and asked me just to get them to an old age home or something. I lost my temper at that and told her to mind her own business and that it was against my values to just abandon my parents once they got old. It resulted in a full-blown argument, and in the end I told her, I get to decide who lives in my house, so don't interfere in my affairs. She's now sour with me and is not talking to me, but I wonder whether I did anything wrong. Am I the idiot for telling my girlfriend that I get to decide who lives in my house? Edit. I told her about it to discuss it with her in the sense that I let her know beforehand so that she could prepare for it and also get her opinion, but she was against it from the very beginning. But as they are my parents, I didn't want her approval, per se, if that makes it clearer. And no, she doesn't pay rent. I wonder whether I did anything wrong. And completely dismissing your girlfriend's feelings? Do you wonder about that? You are the idiot. It may be your house. That may give you the raw power to authorize your parents to stay. But your partner has wants, desires, needs, and feelings too. And it would be a huge shock to suddenly go from living with a partner to living with them and their parents. You didn't even discuss it. You just decided you had the power to do it and did it. Then you basically told her to shut up when she voiced concern. It may very well end up being you living with your parents with no girlfriend in the picture. I'd certainly have serious doubts about committing to a future with someone. The attitude is that if they have the power to do something they want to do, then they're just going to do it, and I can screw myself. Also, if you're discussing marriage, it's about time you started viewing yourself and your partner as a unit. And if you share a living space, you both get a say in who lives there with the both of you. In marriage, it's my house so I make the decisions, isn't going to work. And in my opinion, that shouldn't be your mindset when you're long-term enough to be discussing marriage. And who will be given the responsibility of caring for his parents? Always defaults to the woman. If the girlfriend has any sense, the marriage is now off the table, and she's packing her stuff. She can get better than this idiot. He's not ready to be in a relationship. Those are my thoughts exactly. Of course I'm moving them into my house, and of course I expect you to take the majority of the burden for their care without considering your feelings or thoughts. We talked about marriage, so now I consider you chattel. Dude, she's gonna dump you and move out. You may not be wrong about deciding who can live in your house, but you're being an idiot about it, and it will destroy your relationship. My fiance, Janie, and I are in the middle of planning our wedding. We had a long engagement of 2 years so that we could save. My mom got engaged around Christmas time this year and set her wedding date just over 2 months before ours. Janie was pretty shocked to hear about my mom's wedding. She asked me if I thought it was weird, and I didn't understand why I would. She explained that she couldn't even envision a parent getting married that close to their child because she would expect the focus to be all on the child. She said her parents wouldn't even consider it. This situation has been a bit hard on Janie, as my mom's a professional wedding planner with virtually no budget, and the family seemingly only cares about her wedding. Janie recently had an altercation with my mom because Janie mentioned she was going for a dress fitting, and someone asked if my mom had seen her dress. My mom said no, and Janie joked that she wouldn't take my mom to any of her appointments as she might start trying on dresses. My mom asked Janie if she had a problem with her, And Janie just rolled her eyes. My mom's fiance and I kept them apart the rest of the night, and when we got to the car, I told Janie that wasn't called for. She began to get upset, so I reassured her that I understood why she felt this way. Then, and I might be an idiot for this, I said, while I love her so much, she can't expect my mom to feel as strongly about our wedding or to prioritize her. Janie became very quiet and didn't want to talk about it. Now I think I may have been insensitive. Edit. They don't have too much of a relationship. I don't know how to put this, but my mom is very distractible and hyperactive. Janie is quieter and shyer, so my mom is focused on whatever's grabbing her attention at the moment or whatever's fun and forgets everything else. Janie doesn't like her too much and blows off some steam behind her back, which I do get. Not the idiot. While personally, I do find it a little weird that your mom wedged her wedding in before yours. That's probably standard behavior for your mom. I'm guessing that Janie's just finding it hard to accept while you've had your whole life to deal with what is probably not the first of her self-centered acts. Don't forget, Mom isn't prioritizing you either, OP. Your mom won't change. The sooner Janie realizes that, the easier the rest of your life will be. I mean, I kind of understand where Jamie's coming from. Your mom seems not that interested in your wedding, and instead planned hers to be around 2 months from yours. So much of her focus will be there. On top of that, your mom's a professional wedding planner with virtually no budget. At the same time, you and your fiancé have planned for 2 years to afford your wedding. I can imagine feeling at least a little snubbed that your mom isn't, from what it sounds like, contributing to the wedding, whether monetarily or with her ample wedding planning skills and likely connections in the industry. Also, as a wedding planner, OP's mom should be up to speed regarding wedding etiquette. People say it's over 2 months apart, so it's not a big deal. That's not a lot of time when you factor in overlapping guest list. The correct thing is to leave a 6-month gap. Otherwise, many guests will have to choose one or the other. I hope Janie doesn't have years of being scolded when she doesn't bow to the queen ahead of her. OP, you are the idiot. I'm engaged to Matt. Matt was raised by a single mom, Tina. It was the first time Tina came to stay with us over Thanksgiving. I get that there's some class difference. Tina worked mainly in restaurant and retail jobs to make ends meet. My mom is an engineer and my dad is a lawyer. Tina stayed on our couch and immediately tried to make me into this thrifty housewife for her son, although I'm currently making more than him as he's finishing his post-grad internship. It became hostile about things like our hand soap in the bathroom, kitchen towels, and trash bags. We got into a major fight over them. I normally just use the trash bags that initially came with our trash can. I never really paid attention to the price, but she was mad at me after we returned from grocery shopping and I didn't get stovetop stuffing or mashed potatoes. She didn't like the grocery store that I chose to get our mini Thanksgiving dinner. We went to our loft and she started yelling at me about how I didn't need to shop the way I do and that I needed to wise up with money and not waste her son's money. Again, I make 6 figures while her son is wrapping up his internship. But after that, he should match or exceed my pay in 2 years. So the price of milk and trash bags is not something I think about. I told her that. I don't know what happened, but she starts crying, saying about how horrible I am. I got angry at her, left her in the loft, and texted Matt about her. I went to stay overnight with my sister and her girlfriend, who lives on the other side of the city. They were planning to come to our mini Thanksgiving. This is Wednesday night. Matt asked if we could now skip hosting because his mom is not in a good place, and I upset her. They ate the turkey I would prepare, and then Matt rushed to get stovetop stuffing and instant potatoes. He dropped the overnight bag off at my sister's. Usually Matt and my sister have a good relationship, but she yelled at him. His mom left, but Matt thinks we should discuss finances. My whole family heard about what happened over the trash bags and Matt canceling Thanksgiving. My family's angry at him and his mom. My mom thinks I should cancel the engagement, but Matt and his mom think I'm awful for just leaving his mom crying in the apartment and that I acted like a snobby diva to her. Not the idiot, unless you're a hoarder hoarding jewels and designer clothes you never use. Buying nicer products for yourself when you work hard for a higher income isn't something she should shame you over. Are you in debt? It doesn't sound like it. I do understand why she wasn't grateful for your use of higher quality ingredients if she's acclimated to discount foods. You're supposed to want better for your children. You're not supposed to destroy their holidays and their future marriage because you paid however times as much for ingredients from a different store than she would have. A stable person would have considered that a treat, not an insult. His mother had issues with another woman in her baby's life. How you run your household is none of her business, and the fact that Matt doesn't have your back is concerning. Marry that man and she'll move in within 5 years, mark my words. It sounds like everyone's being a little too dramatic about this. You're not the first fiancé to have conflicts with your mother-in-law, and he's not the first fiancé who's felt pulled in two directions. Calling off the engagement is absurd. You and Matt must discuss it together and figure out a way forward. However, everyone's the idiot here. His mother for being jealous of your lifestyle, and you for believing you have more class than her because you make more money. I don't think calling off the engagement is absurd. Matt's mom is under the impression that OP is spending Matt's money, and he didn't do anything to disabuse her of that notion. OP is being criticized for something that's objectively untrue. She's the primary breadwinner at the moment. A good fiancé doesn't let his precious mommy treat his future wife in such a way, unless his balls are still in mommy's purse. Matt hasn't got the spine to stand up to his mom and wants to let OP remain her punching bag. That's more than enough cause to break the engagement and kick his butt out. My boyfriend, 30, and I, 25 female, have been dating for a year and a half. Something's come up in our relationship recently that I'm not sure about. I've made many trips to see my boyfriend and his family and his friends whenever he invites me, and I can move around my schedule. He says meeting his family is really important, so I try very hard, even rearranging pretty tricky work, but it's always been okay. We work at the same place but in different sects, so our schedules can be kind of crazy. I like meeting his family and friends, but I also talk to him about how important it is for him to meet mine. He always says he's down for it. I've asked him countless times whenever a friend invites me or family members around in the area to come and meet them, but he always makes up an excuse. His go-to is just that work is crazy, and I don't doubt that, but sometimes I know it's a company off day and the slow season, and he still says he's got a lot to catch up on. I tell him it's okay if he doesn't want to meet any of them. Just say so. He gets defensive and says he does, but he has not met anyone in the year and a half. Now, one of my close friends is getting married, and it's an intimate wedding. I can bring a +1, but I know that the wedding is super small. I asked my boyfriend about the wedding and if he was interested in attending weeks ahead. He just kind of said, yeah, but I'm going to be working those days. It'll be busy for me, etc. At this point, that's a hard no. I invite one of my other friends. He's a really nice guy and has been one of my closest friends since we were kids. He happily says yes, and when the wedding date comes around and my boyfriend finds out that I'll have my +1 as a man, he's furious. I try to explain that my friends and I have been friends forever and that he's gay and in a very long partnership and will not be making any moves on me, my boyfriend's concern. My boyfriend got angry and said that he didn't believe me and how come he was just finding out about this friend and it's all so sus, etc. I told him that if he had bothered to meet any of my friends any of the times I invited him, he would have met my friend and realized that there's nothing between us besides friendship. He stormed out and hasn't been very talkative to me. I feel like an idiot, but I also feel like I didn't do anything wrong. Not the idiot, but why are you with him? He doesn't respect you or your time. A year and a half in, and he still hasn't met any of your friends? That's concerning. I'm not saying he has to be buddy-buddy with them, but it's rather hypocritical of him to push you to meet his friends and family, but not bother to do the same for you. This wedding isn't the most pressing problem in your relationship. You're right. If he'd bothered to meet your family and friends, he would know about this friend of yours. He would have waited till the last minute and then flaked on the wedding, leaving you with no one to go with, since it might be too late to ask your friend. This way, you have someone you actually count on. In my opinion, till he gets off his butt and makes an effort, he doesn't get an opinion, and I would have visited his family for the last time till he does. It sounds like you do all the compromising, which is not a compromise at all, and I'm just wondering what you actually get out of this relationship. Everyone's the idiot here. Thanks for his attitude and reaction in general, but it does sort of feel like you just dropped this bomb and are taking someone else without warning. I imagine he's suspicious of this sudden friend popping up suddenly when you've been friends forever. If you've dated for 1.5 years, how has this friend never come up if he's such a good friend? You have the right to bring someone else, of course, especially a friend, but I understand his being uncomfortable and suspicious with you dropping all this information so fast about someone who came out of nowhere. I have 2 children, a nearly adult girl and a younger teen boy. Recently, my daughter showed me some comments that my son was making on some online posts with his friends. He was mocking female soccer players, saying that they didn't know how to play and should return to the kitchen. In other posts, he commented that women only care about money and are only helpful for household chores. I was saddened and irritated by his behavior. I've always tried to educate him to respect women. I confronted my son, and he said it was just a joke, that he wasn't serious, and that it was how his friends joked. He said I was overreacting, and that I didn't understand the jokes. I didn't accept these excuses. I had a long conversation with him and decided to punish him. I took away his computer, canceled the subscriptions to the online games he plays, and prohibited him from playing anything for a month. I also made him cut contact with his online friends. He tried to press, but I stood firm. My husband agrees that our son was wrong, but thinks I was too harsh on him. He says I should have given him a chance to redeem himself, that he's just a teenager, that he'll grow and change. He thinks I should let him play, at least on the weekends, that he needs a hobby, that he doesn't have many friends. I don't think I'm overreacting. I believe he needs to understand that his actions have consequences. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but this isn't addressing his behavior. You need to work to change his behavior, not just punish him. Keeping him from playing games and talking to those specific friends isn't changing the fact he thought this was okay to begin with. The thing is, she can't change his behavior or the way he thinks. You can talk to him all day. That doesn't mean anything will change. It's the one huge takeaway that I've gotten from therapy, and that alone has lowered my anxiety levels almost as much as the medication has. She can send a very clear message that it will not be tolerated in her home. If he goes to a friend's house, there's not much to be done. Some kids will just be idiots, and it doesn't help that it sounds like Dad is happy to let his son be one. Everyone has boundaries for their home. OP is simply setting one here. There will be no denigration of women in my home. You can't change someone's behavior. It's usually used with toxic relationships or abusive partners or parents, not with actual children. OP, it's time to sit down with your son. His brain is forming right now, and he needs to be educated on why this isn't cool. Here's a hobby. Do all the cleaning around the house, laundry, dishes, etc. I would scold the crap out of my kid for that type of behavior. It's not only disrespectful, but also could turn into an issue as he gets older.